All right, Jared Randall here. It's been a little while since I've put an update out, and I kind of had a message sort of building the past several days over the weekend, I would say, and a lot of it has to do with outreach, with messages like what I'm putting out there, how many people are listening to those messages versus the actual impact of messages coming in. And it's really important to understand, and this is especially for anyone out there who also is maybe broadcasting things or trying to pin down different energies that are being channeled, messages that are coming in. It's important that you listen to the impulses that you have of what you're to do with what's coming in, right? If Spirit is bringing in certain messages and saying, go record a video and upload it on YouTube, even though only 5 people may listen to it, do that. If it's go write a poem, do that. If it's paint a painting, do that. It doesn't really matter what it is. Like, your outlet for that energy is important. And you putting it out there in some kind of tangible form is more important than how many people see it. And because you're actualizing it, right? You're holding space for it, and you're it's like we live in a very, very dense circle of reality where when something new wants to come in, it gets crowded out, right? And snuffed out and choked out. But what we're doing is we're sort of like almost like diving in, right, to that density, and we're sort of spreading, if you can imagine, like sort of putting your hands into dirt and sort of spreading it away and planting something, right? You're making space for it. You're holding space for it. You're injecting something into it. That if you just keep those energies internal and it's only here, then it's not the same, right? You're doing more. And it doesn't, again, it's not about, don't get tricked into, it's about you being social media famous, YouTube famous, how many people are listening to you, and that's what matters, because it doesn't. That's not how it works. That's a trick of the, current structures in society that keep certain messages down, actually. Whereas what I find is the more I put out a message, and it doesn't matter how many people are seeing it, over the next days and weeks, I will start seeing that reflected back at me. It's I've held space for it, now others are holding space for it, and all of a sudden it's ricocheting around. There's nothing anyone can do to stop it. That's the actual message. There's no way an algorithm can stop it. And there's a reason why this is so. Because what the internet partly teaches us, so this is a big effect of the internet. It's not so much that, it lets us communicate worldwide. No, what it does, it lets us confirm that people across the globe have a similar idea. It confirms that. It doesn't make it. It was already true. We already have a collective consciousness, right? We've had it forever. It's strengthening that by allowing us to see it, right? By allowing us to verify it. And then as we verify it, things get echoed back at us, and it strengthens it. And we start to believe in it. We start to trust in it more. Because you see, what has happened, and this is related to the idea of the witch wound, right? We've gone through centuries of time where anyone claiming a direct connection to spirit, to source, to energy, to God, to Jesus, to Allah, to the Buddha, whatever, has really been put down. Because if you're not part of the right hierarchy, if you're not, in the, a clergy person in the church, if you're not, this or that or the other thing in the rigid structures of society, then you are wrong. You're automatically wrong. And especially if you're dealing with anything in terms of, the pagan, the old gods, the old goddesses, the ancient ways, ways that are more connected to the land, to the waters, to the air, to the fire, then you're just ostracized, and you're literally burnt at the stake or something, and that's a wound that we carry in our bodies. We're born with it. We know it. It's something that I had from a young person. Knew that I had something in me, and knew that I had to sort of shelter it, because it would get snuffed out. And it's only been these last years where it's now the time is right. The energies have shifted. We've come out of the Piscean age, and we're into the age of Aquarius. That is important. As far as is that the cause? I don't know that that's the cause. It's more of a reflection back at us, right? It's both and. It's the chicken and the egg. And now here we are, and we're in it. And the egg has in it what it has in it, and it's hatched. It is hatched. And the ducklings, or the little chicks or whatever, are out and about, and they're scurrying around, and they're growing, and they're going to reproduce, and that's where we're at now. This thing is just going to keep growing, and these energies are going to keep going, and there's no algorithm that can stop it, because again, it doesn't matter how many views, say, this video gets. It's completely irrelevant, because I know already. I put this out there, and then with the next days, I'll be seeing other people with this same type of message reflecting back at me. I'm just looking at the moon right now. The moon is at just past the quarter phase, waxing gibbous, and it's just staring me in the face in the middle of the daytime. Diurnal moon in a blue sky. I'll try to take a picture and maybe make that the thumbnail for this video. This thing is not stoppable. And so the other part of this message, there's two other parts, I think. Maybe there'll be more, but the next part that I'm being led to is there is a sense among the powers that be, the structures that are there, that are entrenched, that are threatened by this. Okay, there is a sense that our algorithm can stop it. There's a sense of pride and arrogance, like not a good pride, right? Like arrogance, like whatever. That that can't shift the world, that can't change the world, because so look, it's not getting that many views, it's not viral, that only the viral matters, right? And at the same time, there's an underlying fear. There's an underlying fear with these entities, these structures, these power structures in the world, because they're seeing slowly, it's dawning on them that, oh, that's not actually how it works. Somehow we're failing. Somehow we're losing, even though we shouldn't be. How is that? How could that be? And so there's an attempt to cling to power, that is going to strengthen, and it very well could lead to some very wild times, because these again, we live in a very dense circle of reality. This is the way I'm being told to talk about it, in terms of people talk about the dimensions, the third, the fourth, the fifth, and so on. And from the primary circle of reality, that this crystallization of consciousness that is Jared Randall, and that channels, and specifically that Andaman channels through me. That is, it's so dense. And it's not all just going to change without a lot of turmoil, without storms, and it's going to take time. And I always hear this, and I know what people are trying to say, that time is an illusion. Time is not an illusion. Time is a real thing in this circle of reality. In fact, it's right down at the very basis of the circle of reality, and makes this circle of reality what it is. So don't dismiss time, but at the same time, understand that time is fluid, and that all times are one. See, that's the trick of this circle of reality, is that we're stuck, quote unquote. We're pinpointed on a particular spot in space-time, or time-space, and there's a difference there, but I'm not going to get into that right now. That there are things that can only be done here from this vantage point, and it's super, super, super powerful. Okay, and it's super, super, super important, and it grounds certain things into place so that there are structures in place, and that is a good thing. It's important. It's part of the ongoing cycle of life and consciousness in this universe, and it is not to be minimized. It's not to be said that it's bad, or that there are higher dimensions that are, pure, and then the lower ones are dirty. Like, that's exactly what we're getting rid of here. That's a big, big thing of what we're getting rid of here. And that's not liked by the powers that be. That's not liked. Okay? That is a battle that we're fighting. Last part of this, there are personalities within, especially within, I'm not talking about the old structures of spirituality. I'm talking about the new and growing structures of personality, of spirituality. There are personalities within those structures that are worried because they've supported certain beings and certain entities and certain powers, certain structures, and they've gotten their own power and their own ability to go viral from those things, and they're worried because they can tell it's starting to crack, they can tell it's starting to break, they can tell they're starting to lose their audience, and they're not sure what to do about it. And that's going to pick up speed. And some of these are going to come to their own kind of awakening because they actually have been sincere, and they've just kind of been lured and captured into this structure that's kept them. But while at one hand it's given them success, it's also kept them safe, right? They don't actually threaten anything in the current structures, the current powers that are sort of keeping everything locked into place in the world, that are now getting shoved out of the way and pushed out of the way and burnt down and so on and so forth. So some of these you're gonna see this. Some of these folks, you're gonna see them backpedaling from certain positions, from certain people they've supported, and so on, from certain ideas that they've held very closely, are all of a sudden going to be something that, and they won't declare it. It's just going to pass away. They're just going to be silent about those things. They're just going to slowly drift away from it for the most part. Some of them who are perhaps, what's the way to say it? Some of them who have, deeper convictions are going to be a little more vocal about it. But a lot of them will not be, and some of them are just going to disappear because they're actually not going to shift with these changing energies, and they're just going to find themselves slowly becoming irrelevant. That's what's going on. That's the energy right now. There remain all kinds of things going on in the world that are tough. Do not get dragged down. Do not get pulled into fear and worry. That is always the message. Do not get pulled into fear and worry. Where we're headed is a literal golden age. It's going to take time, and it's going to take a long time, okay? These are slow steps. This takes generations of human beings, okay? And there's going to be different timelines. It's going to look different on different timelines. Trust that the timeline you're on is the one you're supposed to be on. Trust that you are particularly equipped to deal with the timeline that you find yourself on, that at a higher circle of reality from which you can see more, which your being is in touch with, even if you're not always consciously aware of that. From that vantage point, you've chosen this, you understand it, you know where you're at, you know why you're there, you know what you're doing. And that is awakening, to just come into that more and more and more. All right, so that's pretty much it for now. I'm gonna leave this one here, leaving you peace and love and all the light you can stand, sending it your way right now.